It would be safe to say that Tucker Carlson is a polarizing figure in America's political media. Or it was safe to say that until his unexpected firing by Fox News. In the wake of Tucker's termination, we're seeing something that I'm sure is catching everybody, whether they are liberal or conservative, totally off guard. Instead of Tucker being sympathized with by the right, him being a conservative and all, and being lambasted and heckled by the left, we are actually seeing Tucker Carlson receive so much praise, sympathy, love, and support from people on both sides of the political spectrum. Liberals and conservatives are coming out in support of Tucker Carlson, hailing him as a whistleblower, celebrating him as a champion against the American military-industrial complex, praising Tucker for his integrity in standing up against big corporations, Trump's election fraud claims, and pretty much every single thing that both honest liberal and conservative voters call out when criticizing the government or the mainstream corporate media. People have found something of a champion for the cause of the little guy in Tucker Carlson. His unapologetic take, his honest views when it comes to different things that the government does or that the legacy media does to deceive the American population, really has led to him becoming the most famous, most watched political talking head in the world. I mean, Tucker Carlson alone was doing more numbers than CNN as a news brand. That is why his firing caught so many people off guard. Why would Fox News part ways with someone who was generating so many views and bringing so much traffic to their media outlet? Isn't that exactly what you want? But what we're quickly finding out is that Fox News, being a part of the legacy corporate media, despite Tucker Carlson's popularity and fame, had a line drawn in the sand that even Tucker, for all he was and all he meant to their brand, could not cross. I want to show you a video of Joe Rogan and his guest, a recent guest, talking about what Tucker Carlson, a conservative Republican, meant to liberal media, independent liberal media outlets everywhere. Now that you've watched that, I just want to say to all the people who are familiar with my channel, I was right all along. For years, I've praised Tucker Carlson as someone who was not a partisan, as someone who would go in on the right just as hard as he would go in on the left. When something was wrong, Tucker Carlson called it out for what it was. Tucker Carlson praised Donald Trump many times. But when Donald Trump made allegations of election fraud against the Democratic Party, Tucker Carlson was one of the first conservative media pundits to call Donald Trump out and demand proof of Dominion election fraud. He even went as far as contacting Trump's lawyers to see if he could get a statement or some type of evidence that supported Donald Trump's claims. A person who is hopelessly partisan for one side of the political aisle would never do that. Don Lemon would never call out Democrats for lies that they told about the authenticity of the Hunter Biden laptop. Rachel Maddow would never go after Joe Biden for lying about his knowledge of his son Hunter Biden's business dealings with foreign nationals. We've seen this time and time again. Fox News, being part of the legacy media like CNN or MSNBC, they are all deceptive. They all try to skew things in a way that supports the political interests or the corporate interests that line their pockets. But Tucker stood out amongst the ranks of legacy media show hosts because it seemed like he wasn't afraid to not only call out people who were on his side of the aisle when they were wrong, but he also wasn't afraid to bring up liberal minds, liberal political commentators on his show to find out what they thought about the current events of our time. He brought up Mate, who is a journalist who is blocked on many streaming sites. He brought up Jimmy Dore, an extremely left-wing liberal political commentator, and wasn't afraid to bring up people like Kanye West, who were polarizing and who were under attack by the powers that be for fiery rhetoric that rubbed some people the wrong way. I was always right about them all along. I consider myself a good judge of character. Tucker Carlson said what he thought. If he thought something was fishy, if he thought something was wrong, such as the war in Ukraine, our support for the war in Ukraine, he said it. He made it clear. If he felt like the United States was going into a situation under false pretenses, he called it out. And for that, he was called everything from a Russian agent to a person who was inciting terrorists or insurrection against the government. Tucker came with a different perspective on the events that happened on January 6th. He called out the United States government for their unfair and unconstitutional treatment of some people who are January 6th who weren't even doing violence. They were just there as spectators who were just following the crowd, trying to see what was going on. He boldly stood up to the peanut gallery and the mainstream opinions and perspective that didn't accurately portray events that took place on that day. And in that very spirit of being an independent thinker, a critical thinker, someone who wasn't afraid to go against the flow of the mainstream media pipeline, it cost him his job. He got fired. But all I really want to say is sometimes your heroes come from the most unexpected places. And if you have an open mind and you take in all the information, not just some partisan version of the information, if you take in all the information, what you'll find out, if you didn't already know, is what most people know in the world who are mature and think logically. We all have more in common than we have different. You'll share opinions with people on both sides of the aisle if you at least listen to what people from an opposing side of the argument have to say. And that's usually the middle ground that we find that connects us as Americans. Thank you so much for watching this. I appreciate every single thing you do. Until the next time, peace.